Did you know that a bunch of filming locations for Star Wars are just a few hours away from Los Angeles?
While George Lucas shot most of the first Star Wars movie in Tunisia, he filmed additional scenes in Death Valley, and you can still go experience the locations for yourself.
Pro tip, cell service is essentially non-existent inside Death Valley National Park, so make your first stop be Furnace Creek Visitor Center so you can pick up a free paper map after you pay your park entry fee.
There are 7 spots in Death Valley that have ties to Star Wars, so let's get into it.
Number 1 is Dante's View.
Dante's View isn't just a beautiful plateau that allows you to see the entirety of Badwater Basin. George Lucas used it as the location of the spaceport Mos Eisley, which Obi-Wan, aka Ben Kenobi, and Luke see from a high outcropping in Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope.
When you're looking down at Badwater Basin from Dante's viewpoint, look to the right and you'll see where Mos Eisley should be.
If you're lucky and Lake Manly has appeared down in Badwater Basin during your trip, then Dante's View is the best place to go for an absolutely incredible view of it.
While Death Valley is notoriously hot, Dante's View is more than a mile up in elevation, so it is always going to be a bit cooler than the rest of the park, making it one of the few attractions you can visit in the middle of the day if you want.
We made a whole video about Dante's View that you can find in a link in the description if you want to hear more about it.
Number 2 is Artist Palette.
Artist Palette is a mountainside with surprising bursts of color in an otherwise fairly monotone landscape. The colors are there naturally due to the various minerals in the hills.
Lucas shot 2 scenes at Artist Palette for Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope.
The first is R2-D2 trundling through an arroyo, which is a dry water course that is to the northwest of the informational sign in the Artist Palette parking lot.
The second scene here is of the Jawas carrying R2-D2 to their sand crawler, which was composited in post-production.
The exact filming location is just south of the Artist Palette parking lot, so you can either take the short walk down from the parking lot to see the vast open field, or pull over to take a look before getting to the parking lot.
The Artist Palette Drive is a one-way loop, so if you pass the second filming location, do not stop to turn around. Just make your way to the parking lot and walk back to the location.
For more info about Artist Palette, take a look at the video that is linked in the description.
Number 3 is Golden Canyon.
Golden Canyon is a beautiful and relatively easy hike with stunning yellow-hued walls, so of course, Lucas used it in Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope.
The scene that was shot here has the Jawas hiding and watching R2-D2, hoping to capture him to sell to moisture farmers.
Fun fact, most of the Jawas were played by the kids of Death Valley Park Rangers.
They had no idea how big of a hit the movie was going to be, obviously.
If you want to know more about the hike through Golden Canyon, we made a short video about that too, and it is linked in the description.
Number 4 is Desolation Canyon.
Desolation Canyon is another canyon that you can hike through in Death Valley, and it was used in Star Wars Episode 4, New Hope, to show Luke watching some sand people with 2 banthas.
The shots of Luke and C-3PO were filmed in Tunisia, but the sand people and banthas were in Desolation Canyon.
Fun fact, the banthas were played by one elephant named Margie, wearing a costume, and they doubled it in the post-production process.
We have not been to Desolation Canyon yet because we simply didn't have time to fit it in on our trip, but we do know that the road to get to the trailhead is unpaved, which means it's probably very similar to the one we drove to get to Mosaic Canyon.
Which is also incredibly beautiful.
Yeah.
Most of the unpaved roads in Death Valley are technically passable with a sedan, but we were glad to have an SUV because it offered us a higher clearance, which came in handy on more than one occasion in the park.
It was a hybrid too, so we got better gas mileage for the over 400 miles that we drove within the park over the 4 days that we were there.
We made a whole series of videos with our practical tips for planning your trip to Death Valley, so those will all be linked in the description as well.
Number 5 is the Mesquite Flat Sand Dunes.
The Mesquite Flat Sand Dunes were formed from the slow degradation of the mountains to the north of the field, with the sand being trapped by the mountains to the south, so it's a fairly unique geographic phenomenon.
There are actually 5 areas of sand dunes in Death Valley, but the park as a whole is a massive 3.4 million acres, so the Mesquite Flat Sand Dunes are definitely the most easily accessible.
And yes, we have another video about that location. If you want to know more about it, it's in the description.
Lucas shot the scene here of R2-D2 leaving C-3PO behind after they argue near the downed escape pod in Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope.
We, like many other people, mistakenly thought that the Sarlacc pit from Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, was shot here as well, but we have since learned that they built that set in the desert outside of Yuma, Arizona, which I believe it's still standing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I wonder if you can go visit that.
Yeah.
Number 6 is the 20 Mule Team Canyon Drive.
George Lucas liked the locations he used in Death Valley for Episode 4 so much that he went back to shoot a scene for Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi.
The scene of R2-D2 and C-3PO slowly making their way along a canyon as Jabba's palace looms in the background was shot at 20 Mule Team Canyon, which is now a drivable one-way dirt road.
This is the other location where we're really, really glad to have a hybrid SUV with four-wheel drive.
Yeah, the four-wheel drive did kick in at least one spot on that drive. The National Park Service says that the road is usually fine for most cars except for those with especially low clearance, but this is one that I do not think that we would want to do in a sedan.
No, there was a couple times where it feels like you're on a roller coaster going up and then suddenly down.
Yeah, and the road is very bumpy, so just be careful.
Yeah, we did really enjoy the drive though. It's really nice.
Yeah. The road has more historical significance to the park than just Star Wars, because of the borax miners who used it in the late 1800s, but we have another video about that too if you want to hear about it.
Number 7 is Zabriskie Point.
Last but not least is the place that most people don't realize has ties to Star Wars because it wasn't used for the movies, but instead it was used for the TV show The Mandalorian.
Zabriskie Point is easy to get to with a big paved parking lot right off the main road through Death Valley. Then there's a short but fairly steep walk up to a viewpoint.
At the viewing platform at Zabriskie Point, you'll see one pointy rock formation that stands out among the rest. You cannot miss it, and it is called Manly Beacon.
This memorable vantage point was used as the background for the Mandalorian as he made his way down to Arvala 7.
We're doubtful that the crew for The Mandalorian actually went and shot the footage there themselves because filming in Death Valley became a lot more restricted after it was upgraded from a national monument to a national park in 1994. And the crew easily could have gotten the shot through stock footage, but regardless, it's a nice homage to the filming process that George Lucas started 40 years prior.
Zabriskie Point is a popular spot to watch sunrise and sunset in Death Valley, which we participated in on my birthday.
Yes, on your birthday! Yeah, so before your trip, you can also download the Death Valley page on the National Park Service app, which includes an audio tour of the Star Wars filming locations, minus Zabriskie Point.
The app and audio tour are all free, so just remember to pay your park entry fee when you get into the park.
Yes. For directions on how to get to all of these locations, check out our detailed written article on our website through the first link in the description, because Google Maps does not really work in the park, even if you download offline maps.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the Great Wide somewhere.